Voter fraud. Is it a real concern, or is it a real red herring to rationalize voter ID laws, which many believe could suppress minority and mostly Democratic votes? ABC 7's Dwayne Lindo joins us with more. Dwayne.
Well, Alan, November elections are less than 2 months away. And as these voter ID laws may not swing the election one way or another, some say they would have a significant impact on Democratic-leaning regions.
Thank you, everybody. This is some crowd of people. Wow.
First, he said the Republican primaries were rigged. That was until he won them. Now Donald Trump has a new refrain. The election itself could be rigged.
We will never fix our rigged system by relying on the people who rigged it in the first place, and that's what you're doing.
Trump has suggested if he loses Pennsylvania, it would only be because of fraud, a suggestion New College's political science professor Keith Fitzgerald says is ridiculous.
As far as the legitimacy of the votes themselves, there is almost no voter fraud in the United States. It's just not a problem.
Fitzgerald says changing the outcome of an election is highly unlikely.
Where you absolutely don't see a problem is with people coming up to vote and trying to pretend that they're somebody they're not. It's just way too much trouble for the value of it, because you'd have to do it on a big scale to get anywhere, and it's really difficult to do.
With over 12 million registered voters in the state of Florida, Ron Turner of the Sarasota Supervisor of Elections Office points out the state's voting system, for one, has integrity and is carefully monitored.
When you go to the polls in Florida, there are about a dozen different types of photo signature IDs that voters use. So we verify those, the poll workers do, or our election personnel do when individuals go to vote.
But some say voter fraud is real and has happened on numerous occasions around the country throughout the past decade.
You know, Acorn had, what, they have 18 or 20 convictions on voter fraud in multiple states, and those are the ones that we know of and that were convicted. They had tens of thousands of voters that they registered that were thrown out.
Sarasota Republican Club President Rod Thompson says if we ignore it, we leave our ballot boxes open to those who are trying to steal elections.
If there was one illegal vote, it could cancel out mine, right? If there's one voter fraud, then it cancels out mine, then my vote really actually didn't count. I think our goal should always be zero. You know, zero voter fraud. We live in the real world, but there's nothing wrong with making that the ideal.
2 months ago, a federal court decided North Carolina law intentionally discriminated against minority voters and ordered the state to make voter ID requirements less strict. But Thompson says the idea of making voter IDs less strict is not ideal.
We need a voter ID for everything under the sun. If you want to buy alcohol, if you want to get on a plane, if you want to rent a house, you need to prove who we are. Why would we have a different standard at the voting place? Why is that voter suppression? Why is that voter disenfranchisement?
Fitzgerald says not so fast. He says many of these new voting laws are put in place to shape the electorate to their advantage.
So they engage in gerrymandering. We should be concerned about that. They will try to put in phony barriers to solve non-existent problems by making it hard for some people to register.
Now, new voting restriction laws were not only struck down in North Carolina, but Texas, Wisconsin, and Kansas as well.
Right, Dwayne, thank you.